Yeah, same spot. I never left. You're back finally. And you're back.
Everybody's back.
Guess who's back?
Back again. JD's back.
Call a friend.
Yeah, he's back. Couple fun things maybe at the start. I feel a little battle worn coming into this one.
Your energy right now is battle worn low.
This was a trip we all went on.
Oh, we're talking
about what we're about to do today.
We're talking movie time. Yeah. Oh, I get it.
It is Christian movies are funny, and Tim and I have been through. We have stared into the darkness, and we have returned to talk to you about it today.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for recommending this one.
I want to say at the start that several people sent in church version of Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar based on our last podcast. And I'm thankful for you. I'm a little disappointed at how many versions there were.
Oh, no.
Boy, a lot of people got the same idea. And it's out there. You can go check it out. I was kind of considering highlighting one, but then I was just like, honestly, if you want to see them, go see them and pick your favorite. But they're out there. Secondly, we're discussing a movie today that a lot of you sent in. Multiples.
I want names. I want addresses. Okay? Okay? I want a promise from these people that sent this one in that they watched it themselves.
It was a journey.
Because I think it was just a torture session, and I don't like that. I don't like that.
Man, today we have a movie to discuss. Oh, welcome to the podcast, everybody. Christian Movies Are Funny is the segment. That is Tim. I am Anthony. You are here on the Bible is Funny podcast. We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. You can watch the video of us painfully recounting what we're about to recount right now. You can see the tears well up in our eyes as we recall
tears of anger.
What we just went through together.
I've never had angry tears before, and these are mad angry tears.
This was something. This was absolutely something. So we're going to get into it here pretty quick. If you would, wherever you're watching this, though, because you made us do this, and I think you owe us at least this.
Apologize.
Leave us a comment wherever you're watching this. Just tell us where you're watching from today. That's my comment prompt.
And what you're wearing.
No. Just
Fine.
where you're at. Not like, don't give me like your home address. Just like a region. Like, you know.
I want.
Give me some idea. You already asked for addresses.
I want the county.
In this. Give me the county.
Specifically.
Let us know where you're watching from, so everyone can know where the Bible is Funny fam is. I think that'd be fun. That's my little.
Such a weird thing to ask.
That's my little fun prompt.
I would never
today.
tell anybody where I was listening from.
Yeah, probably most people won't. And that's
make up a place if you need to.
Ooh, make up a place you want to live, maybe, and put that in the comments.
If you say like Topeka, I'm like, guys,
I dream of Topeka. You're not in Kansas anymore.
Dream bigger. No offense.
Here we go. Let's do this today. Christian Movies Are Funny. We're jumping in. Today we have consumed, and this, when I say consumed, think Dumbledore in the water looking at Harry going, "No, I don't want any more." And Harry going, "You have to drink, remember?" That's how we consumed this film. We consumed, and now we're going to discuss the 2014 Ken Ham fan fiction. Gramps Goes to College. Gramps Goes to College. Tim, what do the people need to know about Gramps Goes to College?
They need to know, well, I'll stop. What do you need to know technically about Gramps Goes to College? It was written and produced by the one and only Donald J. Parker.
Written and produced. There's no way he also acted in it.
He was the lead character.
No way.
Yeah, he wrote himself into this film.
Shocking to me every time.
I think it's a real version of him, too. Directed by Chip Rossetti, which I blame him, too. Starring DJP as Gramps, a.k.a. Ty Bounds. Kara O'Brien stars as Barbara. Yep. Courtney Lee Simpson as Stephanie. I'm just naming like your high school friends right now because that's who's in here.
Yeah.
There's not actual actors. Did I say Courtney Lee Simpson? Maybe I did. As Stephanie. Carol Anderson as Professor Tucker.
Yeah.
Sam Perkey as Jace. Rusty Martin as Brad. I think this is a NASCAR lineup. And then Caitlin Borst as Michaela.
When you say that, we do think alike. Sandwiches. I thought the same thing. But you probably caught it faster, but it's Rusty Wallace. I was thinking. I went on like a 5-minute Google search. I'm like, I know Rusty Martin is a NASCAR driver.
Ricky Martin.
He was living La Vida NASCAR.
Gotcha.
Rusty Wallace was who I was thinking of.
No, I know.
There is a bit of a DJP universe for those who may remember. Last year we did a movie called Best Friends Recycled. Mm-hmm. And I don't think there's consistency within in fact, I know there's not consistency within the universe, but you see the characters show up.
Yeah. There's you signed this lifelong deal with DJP to be in his films.
Michaela was his daughter in Best Friends Recycled. I recognized her.
Sure.
Right away. Mm-hmm. Anything else we need to know? A little teaser you need to give us about Gramps going to college?
I'm trying to say this without anger.
It's coming across very neutral. Very neutral. Unbiased.
The IMDb synopsis says, and I'm pretty sure it was, DJP's synopsis that he wrote, because nobody else would be willing to write something and admit that they watched it on IMDb. When workaholic Ty Bounds retires after 35 years as a computer programmer, he seeks a way to spend his time serving God. Sure. Following the Holy Spirit's lead, he returns to college to wage war against secular humanism and mentor a new generation in truth-seeking. That's what they're after. Truth.
Truth-seeking, baby. I love that. Well, let's get into it, everyone. Mm-hmm. I'll do my little spiel here before we start. Mm-hmm. You have a story to tell. And I want you to tell that story. Some people don't like to share things. They don't like to create things for fear of criticism. Mm-hmm. Some people have like no fear of criticism or thought as to that anyone might like they need to account for the person who's watching the thing that they're making. And there's probably a healthy balance in there. But what I want you to think about today is just make your thing. Tell your story. Mm-hmm. I mean, if we take anything away from DJP, it's that he is running around telling his story, his version of the story. He's telling it loud and proud. And so I think you should too, just for the sake of, balance. So get out there, tell your story. Don't be afraid of critics, okay? Critics some of them are really nasty.
Don't point at me when you say that.
I was pointing behind you. There's somebody on the other end, right off frame. Some critics we're here for. Is this part of the fun? Is just to consume media and discuss it amongst friends. It's what art is all about. It's what we're gonna do here today. So don't be afraid to tell your story and do your thing, okay? Because we got you. We love. We're not gonna do this with your thing, whatever it is. Send it to us, and I'm sure it's the best.
Yeah, just don't make it this bad.
This movie is Gramps Goes to College. It is free to watch on YouTube. Also, I think Tubi. And so
I don't think Tubi would put this out.
I thought I actually
Tubi's got some standards. Don't they?
Sorry, the Roku channel is what it was telling me. The Roku channel has this also available for free. The link is in the show notes. We're going to discuss right now from here till the end of the podcast, spoilers aplenty. So if you would like to watch this movie unspoiled, you may do so now. You can pause this podcast, go watch the movie, hour and 40 minutes. Feels like maybe longer, but it is actually only an hour, 40 minutes. You can go check it out, and then you can come back and we can talk about it that way, or you can hang out just here for 1 second and we'll get down to business.
Don't watch it. Don't.
Okay, welcome back, or thank you for sticking around. Let's get into a more thorough synopsis of Gramps Goes to College. Ty Bounds has done basically everything a human can do. He's a computer whiz, a chess expert, a short-distance cross-country runner, a basketball star, a tennis star, an accomplished bowler. He qualifies for Mensa. His arguments are so articulate, and he's so handsome and charming that his adversaries can't decide if they want to debate him or make debabies with him. The one thing he hasn't been able to do is meet his beloved college-aged granddaughter. As a 60-something recent retiree, Ty decides it's time for that to change. So, naturally, he enrolls in a college at a different college in the same general area. Upon entering college, Ty finds that things are even worse than he thought. Students are going to parties, drinking alcohol, being taught evolution, and demons are winning the intramural sports. Ty can't stand for this, so he uses his superior athletic ability to overcome the demons on the intramural sports court, his superior intellect to dunk on dummy professors in the classroom, and he spiritually mentors a young woman on campus so that she can resurrect people from the dead. Yeah. Despite his bare minimal effort, Ty never does make contact with his granddaughter, but in the end, that's okay. Because he got to have a college experience, and some random college in the general area of Tennessee will never be the same. Maybe the real granddaughter is the friends we made along the way. Gramps Goes to College.
I wish you were exaggerating about any of that. This isn't a play. We're not playing here. That's what happened.
I need you to know. And one thing about DJP is when he swings, he's got one swing.
It's one big swing. It just takes really long.
It's very long
time to swing at
The pitch went by a while ago, but he's got the courage to still swing the bat. And he doesn't typically hit the ball. Let's dive in and discuss the film, Gramps Goes to College. Tim, what was something that was shocking to you about this
Funny
film?
enough, there wasn't a whole lot that was actually shocking, because I've seen a couple of these already.
Yeah.
And really all you have to do is watch a trailer. I don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
But the most shocking thing, there was a shocking moment that I audibly gasped. It was at the end when all the kids were reading quotes from different people, and there was one kid that was like, and then now you go to the and I was like, whoa. There was some accent that this kid had that was like Twilight Zone-ish, but like this deep kind of husky-ish voice, but it sounded kind of Russian.
A little Jabba the Hutt was my
that was. I'm not trying to make fun of the kid because I don't know if that was
happening.
Something happened.
Yeah,
and that whole scene was so dumb. But that's beside the point. That moment where I heard his voice and was like, "What is that?"
Very shocking.
That was literally shocking.
That's such a great answer to the question. I'm gonna kind of quick piggyback on that just so we don't revisit. That was my low point.
That kid?
The kid's reading the quotes at the end.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like a post-movie scene. Like the whole movie has ended and these kids are sitting in an auditorium of some kind and they stand up and they're reading from pieces of paper. And why I said that as a low point is I'm like 85% convinced as we all talk here together, those kids were being held against their will. And it had all the energy of a hostage situation of them holding a newspaper going, and then the evolutionists said that all Christians are bad. It was so unsettling. And I was like, let the kids go. Have they eaten? Has anyone given these kids food or water? That was my low point of the whole thing. That's obviously saying something. Okay, now I'll do my shocking so we stay in order. My thing was they kind of set up the premise of he's 60-something and he's enrolling in college. Okay, we get that as a premise for a movie. The age of the people that attend this college was all over the map. This was, it was actually not odd that he was 60 going to this college. There's an intramural cross-country race, which only runs 2 miles.
2 miles.
I didn't run cross-country. I'm pretty sure it's a 5K. That's pretty standard. Mm-hmm. And that's what Google told me. So if you're a cross-country runner, correct me if some of you are only running 2 miles. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine why you would be. But this is a cross-country, also intramural cross-country. The amount of... I don't think that's a thing. You might have a race on your campus, but you don't do intramural.
That I don't know. Maybe they do.
Cross-country regular.
I think that's just a running club.
Anywho, they were like, all right, ready, set, go. And you see the 60-something-year-old DJP, who's the star of the film. But then you see another guy, easily in his 50s. He plays chess. One of the first person he plays chess against has got a hairline like mine. I'm like, that kid's not 19. the age range of this college, which has, so you might be thinking like I did, oh, maybe it's like a professional development university. Like here we have Everest University or something like that. But they had dorms and they were supposed to be not 60. And yet everyone was.
Wait a minute.
It was actually weird that the 4 kids were attending. I think that's what was weird.
Because they were in high school?
Was that they were 18 going to this college, which was clearly not for 18-year-olds.
Well, they needed to make it a point that they were underage drinking.
Yeah, you did.
So we got that. That
underage drinking
was accurate.
Distilled water, I think, in the drinking competition. But that's neither here nor there. Tim, give me a character, and this will be tough for you, I know. You wanted to see less of.
I had to think about it.
Yeah, weigh it out.
This might be shocking for everyone else. I wrote down Ty, a.k.a. Gramps.
The main character?
The main character.
Oh.
Whatever you want to call him. And I wrote a little bit. There's just so much. And it's so bad. How similar this movie and the life of Donald J. Parker are to Michael Scott.
Yeah.
And his movie Threat Level Midnight in the Office.
Yeah.
With Michael Scott. It's
right.
shocking. As you said in the intro, DJP writes himself as a hero that is morally flawless, virtually omniscient, and is a 5-star athlete at 60-something years old. In this story, he enrolls as a student, then says, I've gathered a wealth of knowledge in my lifetime, and I just want to share it with whoever will listen.
Sure.
Okay. Well, then, Donald, maybe the way to go about that would be that you have someone hire you as a professor. I know that's crazy.
That's the traditional route.
And it would be because of your demonstrated subject matter expertise. Dude writes himself in as a sex symbol whose allure is strong enough to break the moral compass of any woman who gets near him. The delusion he's under is even worse than his haircut. And I try not to be mean like that.
The haircut is... It is...
You forced my hand here.
It is... He knows everything. He literally knows everything.
This is... He kind of reminds me of my dad almost. I'll be honest. Like, buddy, we don't believe you.
You don't.
But it's amazing that you are this hero. That you also have Catherine Zeta-Jones begging you,
right?
To hold your body against hers.
Yeah, she. Literally, like, again, viewers are like, oh, it's a Christian movie. They're exaggerating. They're probably picking up a little cue. Guys, she threw on a couch. She lunged at him to try to wrap him up.
Multiple attempts on her part to get him intoxicated so he would sleep with her. Like,
she even had her shoulders out around him, trying to set the trap. He wasn't falling for it.
Who's thirsty?
Obviously, character you wanted to see less of was obviously Ty. I honed in one level more and just said, again, you can talk to my wife, Rachel. You can message her on Instagram about this. Whenever people play sports in movies, I'm just really sensitive. And so the whole intramural setup was like, it was some sort of Olympic style. Like, apparently it was 12 events that all factored in. Whatever, we'll suspend reality. Then he gets out there, and the basketball version, I'm like, here we go. What's the basketball version? You can fill in the blanks. You can probably guess what intramural basketball looks like. And it is, of course, a knockout-style three-point competition. Why wouldn't it be? Why would you not just shoot? That's just the only part of basketball that really matters. So he gets up there, and just like he'd never held a basketball before in his life, like,
I mean, he shot it like an old man at the Y.
It was not. And then the kid he's playing against had actually, like, very good. Like, that kid's played basketball. That's how you're supposed to shoot a basketball. And then, of course, they show him shooting, cut to the rim. That was awful. Ty was supposed to be an expert tennis player. And then the kid he was coaching was supposed to be good. And it was like, guys, this is below average tennis. Like, this isn't even. This isn't even. The balls that you hit, I'm certain, did not go over the net
straight up
anywhere they were supposed to go. They were going up, away.
At one point, he missed it. The kid missed it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And he was like, improved. This was the improvement montage.
Right.
Straight up misses. him playing chess, like it, just all of it was so lazily done. And that's really that's why I think like him playing sports. I'll just stick with my answer to the question. Ty playing sports, engaging in that way with the campus. Character you want to see more of? You needed more.
Oh,
from this.
I know this will be there weren't a lot. But it was the one black guy in the whole movie. That was the guy
Totally
I wanted to see
fair
more
answer.
of.
Yeah.
And he was kind of funny.
He was funny.
He delivers a line after this 3-point contest thing. He says, "That old man," because he's talking to Jace, and he's talking about like
villain.
He's a demon, if you will,
literal
demon. He goes, they're trying to find a way to like, he's a threat. You know, Grandpa is a threat.
Obviously.
He says, "That old man, he used to coach basketball. He played on the college tennis team for 4 years. And he's an accomplished bowler. We need to get rid of him." He delivers that line. It's the only line he has, but I want to see more of that.
Well, and then he cooks up a plot, which is great, to get him thrown out of school. Yeah, definitely wanted to see more of that character. I could stand by that. I squeezed out Brad Hansen, his roommate.
Wow.
I thought there were moments where I was
you
like,
didn't get enough?
Okay, he's doing his part to be in this movie.
Okay.
I also did kind of like Brad Hansen's like arc because Ty he brings Brad. It's his roommate naturally, and the roommate situation in this college is like the beds are just right on top of each other, like they curl into beds very close to snuggle at night. And so he brings Brad down because he meets sweet Michaela, Christian girl Michaela, and he's like, "Brad and Michaela, I care for both of you, and I want you to be wed, and my will be done. I am Ty." And so he comes out and set that all up, and Brad's like, "Nah, I'm into Stephanie. She seems like a good time." So he starts hanging out with Stephanie, and then Stephanie dies. Spoiler alert. And then undies moments later. And he still stays with Stephanie the whole time. And so, like, it's like the one thing Ty was after was that he didn't get was Brad ending up with Michaela. And Brad was just like, "Nah, I'm going to go with Stephanie." That's it. That's the end. And Brad didn't show up to Ty's goodbye party, which I also was like, good for you, Brad. Because he didn't want to cry in front of him, obviously.
Yeah, something tells me that could have been a script rewrite and Brad had school that day or a baseball practice or something. And then DJP is like, I got an idea. Work around this.
Character that reminded... Oh, go ahead.
No, but even in that, like, the script rewrite is he was so sad that he was crying really hard because of you. He loved you so much.
Right.
He's so sad because you're a hero to everyone and you're amazing. Like, that's in the script.
What was so great about this film is that he, author, director, producer, DP, Donald J. Parker, creates this character of Ty, which I think we both would probably agree is sort of a idealized version of himself. In the film, the character's like falling in on itself, right? So like, he's at this goodbye party, and all these people are being so nice to him, and his only thing he can talk about is the person who's not at the party saying goodbye to him. So you're like, what's so funny, DJP, is the character flaws that you probably have are coming out in the movie if you're actually watching this movie.
I wrote that down as one of my notes. Like, it's amazing that he wrote this character with these like very obvious flaws. Like it's painful. Like, he's just he's a know-it-all saboteur that actually doesn't have people that really like him around him. His own family is estranged, and he like doesn't see how that happened. And he's like, well, I guess the devil's after. The devil's in their head.
It is the devil.
Like, no, you wrote this character. Did you not watch it and see it?
Oh boy. That's the thing, though, is you're like, I think because you were leading with the other notes about how great you are at all your endeavors. Give me a character that reminded you of me, Timmy.
Well, I didn't want to be offensive. No, the one that was closest, and again, everyone was bad and terrible. But I picked Jace, I picked Jace, the
Jace.
athlete. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know he's the villain. He's the bad guy. But as far as like what he's qualified to do, what he's like, his athletic prowess, he's generally kind of cool. He's like the only sane character in this whole thing.
Yeah, basketball form was good, so I'll take that. I also did appreciate about Jace, if you were being plagued by someone like this, I obviously don't recommend this just in normal situations, but if you have like kind of this person who's really torturing you and making your life not fun in this way, in the intramural competition, he named his team the Demons and then gave himself the number 69. And I was like, that's a level of trolling that I can sort of support. Of like, if it's gone this far and you're trying to troll, commit to the bit.
Get him.
And do it.
He does physically run into Donald J. Parker a couple times.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit unrealistic.
Well, Donald J. Parker's very brittle bones would have not been able to. So it was like a sound effect cutaway.
Wait, I think he's got steel in his all of.
Have you
as far as I understand,
Wolverine? The character that reminded me of you, Tim, was Ty's granddaughter, because I also think you would never speak to him if he was your grandfather, and you would never see him. And you would want no part of anything he's doing.
That is so accurate.
So that's the character. I was like, that's probably Tim in this movie.
Good heavens, thank you.
And he wants this to be a thing, but the granddaughter's like, oh no, I know. I get it, and I'm choosing no.
Yeah. No, that's, I was dreading who you picked who would be like me in any way in this film, and I'm honored that you picked no one. The person who avoided it.
She's in the film.
Right.
In spirit.
Right.
I already did my low point, so we'll start with you. If you had to pick a low point from this movie.
For low points, I wrote yes. I mean, I texted you during my watching of this film. And if you probably read, I mean, the not safe for work comments that I wrote to you, just about hating you and how this has affected our friendship, and that I am tortured and I will live now probably 2 years less of my life that I would have because I'm scarred by what happened. The low points were yes. Cringy moments abound, I said. His comment, like, to the girl's dad, when the dad was dropping her off at college, and he's like, she looks like a real sweetie, and then, if anybody ever said that about my like teenage daughter, and if any old man is sitting in a college dorm room and says that about my teenage daughter, I can't guarantee you're gonna walk out of there on your own. And I'm not a violent. I am a violent person, like in spirit, but physically not usually.
Sure.
But he would. I don't know what would happen, but I would probably snap. And then he says, "Not only will I pray for her, I'll try and keep an eye out for her as well." And that was gross. And when he said the sexual urge is the most powerful thing a human can experience, when he's talking to kids like
Brad.
Yeah. I just wrote gross, Donald. Like this old man, I wrote is horny AF. If anybody's not sure what that means, see me after class. But it's so gross. Like the amount of times he wrote himself in is like, oh, she wants to touch me. Oh, and then him like covering up her cleavage at dinner, like putting a sweater on her, like he's at her house. She invites him for dinner, obviously to seduce him.
Sure.
But then he's like, "Oh, you've got too much going on here," and he walks over to her, takes her jacket, and puts it over her shoulders and puts it back on her, and he's like, "There, now my eyes can be settled." And you're like, "Frickin' gross." It's so gross.
If I may, to just add on to that, the setup of it was he looks at her and says, "Close your eyes, I want to lay a surprise on you."
I've heard
and
that one
then
before.
walks over and does that.
Yeah.
So creepy. And just like, yes, I'm glad you brought up, so Michaela was the character and she's dropped off as a freshman in college. And again, it's just this like very disconnected way of seeing the world, I suppose. But he's trying to, in his movie, say how untrustworthy higher education is, which is like he watched God's Not Dead and was like, I could do it better. Essentially, like the Golden Bachelor version of God's Not Dead. Is what this essentially was. But in doing so, he's like, well, everybody knows, just like I think, that higher education is not trustworthy. What nobody would think is weird is a 60-year-old choosing to surround himself with 18-year-old girls. That's a trustworthy situation. That a 60-year-old dude just who loves having lunch every day with an 18-year-old girl, that's chill. But it's these biology teachers. They're the ones. It's like, no, Donald. Again, just frequently in the news, we're hearing about the 60-year-old dudes and the choices they're making. And it's not as with the biology, whatever.
But yeah, no, beware of the biology teachers who are trying to pull your faith in creation right out of you. That's what they wake up in the morning.
That's like the big...
They put it on their little board.
If you were to
Who are we
say
going to get today?
that frequent story you're hearing is not okay, Donald. I mean, he's getting his news where he gets his news.
Yeah.
Yeah, my low point was the kids at the end, which I already mentioned. But yes, Ty's thoughts on the friendship situation were interesting. If we could do high points.
Did you do yours?
Point.
Oh yeah, you already did.
Yeah,
yours.
mine was
That's
the kids at the end being held against their will and reading quotes.
High points was when I laughed. But I wrote there were none, and I truly mean none. Like there was not an actual high point, like a good point.
Yeah.
But the whole scene where Stephanie does the drinking challenge, and they go
okay.
And this is the whole premise of the whole scene. Just made me laugh because I've had alcohol before, guys. I know.
Tim.
I know. Sorry, this is my time to admit it.
I'm getting this information the same time as you are, so we'll talk after the podcast.
And they're drinking Everclear, which Everclear is lighter fluid, like for those of you who don't like. And she's taking it straight.
Yeah.
No, it's. I think what do they say in the film? I don't.
She did 20 shots in 5 minutes
of like 190 proof Everclear, which is. Rubbing alcohol, it's like pure alcohol.
Yeah,
that's right on the fringe of being nothing but gasoline. And she doesn't win. There's nothing to it. I guess maybe that's part of the show. But she does 20 shots of this,
right,
and then keels over dead. She dies.
Yeah,
she was pronounced dead on the scene after about 6 seconds by a kid, and then everyone went, "Yeah, I guess she's dead. Let's
point
go."
doing CPR.
Nah.
Because she's dead.
She has no vital signs.
She's dead. No vital signs.
She has no vital signs, says the kid. She's dead. Then she wakes up from being so drunk that she died. Which is a thing. It can happen. It's not good.
Yeah, no.
I don't think it looks quite like that.
Yeah.
But when she wakes up, she's now suddenly sober. Like, pretty darn sober.
Very coherent.
Because she saw hell. She saw fire of hell.
Yeah.
We have to assume.
Right. We only know for sure she saw fire.
Yeah, she saw fire.
Yeah.
So she went and saw hell. She saw death and then came back and was like, I'm sober. But that whole scene just made me laugh so much.
Is there something, though, magical about that scene? Because the teacher also got sober. Right away. She housed a couple bottles of wine, threw herself at DJP at Ty Bounds. She was all of a sudden sober. I think it was a magical nature of that barn they were in.
Yeah, the sobriety barn.
There was like a ring of sobriety. That scene was very funny. Also because there was a kid in charge of setting up the drinking competition, and I just think the kid was doing this character the best he could, and he's like, so $20 to enter and the winner gets the whole pot, and Jace walks up and that's it, and he's kind of looking around like, okay, anybody else want to enter the drinking competition? I set this up, I got a board going, anybody else? And then finally Stephanie walks up, so there's any sort of competition. But even then the kid, you can see it in his eye, he looks out at the crowd, anybody else. It's really, it was designed for like a party activity, and it's really not. Okay, we'll just do the 2 then. And I felt that. I felt when he did that.
Yeah.
My other high point I said was Stephanie and Jace burning each other. So Stephanie and Jace were exes, and it's not because it was good, but it's just because it was so much.
It was a theme, yeah.
And it was a theme. Burns such as like your ego reminds me of the universe because it's ever expanding. Just very like long-winded. You know what I mean? If you've ever been in a burn exchange, somebody gets into that compound sentence and you're like, boy, you gotta land this burn, because
it's as if maybe the writer of this didn't really, I don't know, think like a college-age kid.
Sure.
Or write anything about college from a personal experience that might have been recent. Maybe his college experience was 40 plus years ago.
He clearly wishes he could jump back in, make a difference, join the war. But yeah, hearing Burns that are like, oh yeah, well when you walked in immediately, I was reminded of something that smells bad that I smelled 12 years ago at my grandfather's house, which was... You're like, good golly, I am out on this burn. I don't even remember what we were doing. I have walked away. The burn is no effect. Okay. Gramps went to college. We watched it. Tim. How many raised hand emojis?
0. Less than 0 is not an option. So 0. This was completely unwatchable. Again, I wrote some stuff down. It's like writing a letter to someone and then not sending it.
Yeah.
It's cathartic. He did. Oh man, I don't even go there. Completely unwatchable. Terrible premise. Terrible audio. By the way.
Okay. Thank you for saying that.
Good heavens.
Could we pause there for a second and say, like, one of the things here you've brought up several times, like, we truly don't want this to be. This is truly, DJP is some old fella passing his days, but there is a craft here that you, and so for entire scenes of this movie, they clearly lost the audio, and instead of reshooting, they brought people in and just recorded them on microphones like us now.
Right.
So you'll have like, we're outside, birds are chirping, and then it'll be stone silent, and people will be talking sort of synced to the people on the screen.
And then they would like cut back sometimes in the middle of the scene when the audio picked back up.
Yeah.
You hear the mangled audio, but then you hear like the air conditioner running in the background.
Right.
And these are production things that like you need to be mindful of.
Right. And there is work to do things for consumption.
And when you do it very badly, it's noticeable.
Right. Imagine like being presented an omelet where the eggs are not cooked, and you want to say like, well, you did attempt to make an omelet, but there's actually a way to make an omelet that we've sort of agreed upon, and you should cook it.
And then someone has just smeared dog poop on it. That's the omelet we got today.
Like there's a way to cook an omelet that is so people can eat it, and this way that you did it was not edible.
Yeah. So this is all exposition. It's all talking heads. Yeah. Even the action scenes are terribly slow, as Anthony said. It's 2 hours I'll never get back, and I'll never forgive you for, and you whoever recommended this for.
Thanks, Tim.
So you're welcome. This guy endeavors to make films that prove a point he doesn't even understand. I've heard him debate, because I went down a rabbit hole, guys. I did some things, and I watched some DJP videos that are out there.
Sure.
He was on a podcast with this atheist where he was debating him on evolution, and the guy was actually very kind to him and was like,
good.
So it seems like you don't understand the premise here. Right. He's saying to DJP, and he's so generous with him, and I felt good about that he wasn't berating an old man, but he just never got it. And
who would go on a podcast just to berate an old man in his endeavors?
He put the movie out there. Just responding, I'm consuming because I had to eat it. Now I'm talking about what I consumed.
And we're discussing.
Yeah. he doesn't understand the concepts of evolution and adaptation and how that can live completely independently from the concept of creationism. He has a kindergarten level of understanding on the subjects, but then writes a character as an expert on the opposite view. Then uses completely false logic in their arguments because it's his logic.
Yeah.
And then he defeats them in the argument. And this may be the second most arrogant dude with unearned credentials I've ever seen. And conveniently, both are named Donald J. Most people have debates in their heads with people they have issues with.
Sure.
You know, you get in the shower and you're like, oh, if I could have, that guy cut me off in traffic. If I could have talked to him, I would have said this and he would have said that and I would have said this back.
That'd be right.
And you know, the other people aren't really thinking about the situation at all, but you're worked up as if they are.
Yeah.
But most of us have those conversations and then let them go. It's like writing a letter that you don't send.
Yeah.
But Donald J. Parker writes those in his head debates down.
Yeah.
And then he turns them into stupid movies.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at today.
Yeah.
So that was a long way of saying zero.
Like, the thing is...
No.
Well, I just want to say that, like, what happens is there's a little thing here that's maybe worth talking about, an issue. This is common for Christian movies. And you're like, yeah, that is something we should talk about. We should try to come to a resolution. How things are presented or how different opinions are treated in levels of higher education. Like, sure, if you're like, I think there should be some conversation about that. Okay, there's probably a little something there. Definitely, this is one of those. It's like, yeah, I am unfortunately right about everything, and everybody would be better if they just listen to me. And it's tough to bear that burden, and that's what DJP walks around with. Here's what I'll say on my rating. There's a poster up in my teacher's classroom that said, shoot for the moon. And even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. Folks, I'm going to tell you here right now that this is the worst movie ever made. Look at me. This is the worst movie ever made. If you would like to see the worst movie ever made, you know what I mean? It's sort of like, who likes last season? I know we go to sports sometimes. The White Sox lost more games than anyone's ever lost in the history of sports, or baseball, excuse me. Probably all of sports. Yeah, because nobody plays more games than baseball. And it's like, your team could be slightly under 500, or they could lose more games. They could be historical in the way that they did it. So that's what I'll say to the viewer. If you and your friends are into bad movies, it doesn't get worse than this.
Just try to do like 10 minutes. Do like the last 10 minutes.
It doesn't get worse. And DJP's, he writes, he's almost like a comparison he probably gets a lot is Quentin Tarantino. It's like every character is written like him instead of it being like every individual character, or maybe more Wes Anderson style. They're all kind of like the same. And so it's Donald J. Parker. Better comparison. Erase those other ones. If you've ever seen the film Meet the Clumps, where Eddie Murphy plays every character, that's what DJP does. But he doesn't play the characters. He just writes for them.
Yeah.
So they all talk the same. So it's his style of talking, which is very like nonlinear and verbose, and it's the worst movie I think that's ever been made. And for that I say, if you're gonna do it, do it. And so I think I'm happy to be able to share with you and with others that like Gramps Goes to College is the worst movie. And so if you would like to see that, like in which like dialogue doesn't make sense, story doesn't make sense, production value like didn't even sort of accomplish the thing, didn't even make the edible omelet, like it's all of it. It's all of it in one movie. So if you like those individually, you and your friends are gonna have a good time with Gramps Goes to College. It's free on YouTube. You're gonna be blown away by every turn. And that's the other thing with DJP is it's always like big swinging, like we were kind of alluded to. Somebody dies in this movie.
Yeah, and it's not because of fluoride, but everybody else is gonna.
Or was it?
Oh, geez.
Or was it?
Yeah, that's right.
How much water had she been drinking prior?
He is a fluoride expert.
To all the alcohol. Guys, it it's just really kind of.
And it's what's funny. I assume. Sorry, I didn't hear the actual answer. But was it 0? Was it 0?
It has to be.
Can you just say the number so I can get to my point?
Be 0. But again, I know I do this typically. But when I say
no, it's 0.
It is the worst movie.
Yes, 0. 0 it is. That's I get it.
It's 0. It's 0 race.
But don't go watch. There's
nothing redeemable.
Bad. Nothing.
But if you want to see the worst,
don't though.
If you want to stare into the abyss, I can
guarantee you, it's not even worth the funniness of it.
Is the abyss?
Unless you have to. So much stuff I wrote. He's a creationist who wants to get into graduate level biology. After he said he doesn't want to, he just wants to go back.
He just wants to go to take some classes.
He just wants to dabble, but now he wants to get a graduate level.
Degree,
And the anti-creation, secular higher level education that he's in says no chance.
No way.
You can't do that. The dude hates science.
Yeah.
Even though he's a programmer who has to understand science in general. Everything's bad. Everything's so bad.
Literally, and in a way, that's hard to do. Sometimes you accidentally do something kind of good.
Right.
And we've seen that here on the podcast and when we review Christian movies. And I am telling you, this movie successfully did everything bad. And that's something to talk about.
Oh, I did. I have to. Maybe I'll show it to you offline. But I'll do it later. We're going to talk about this later. We're going to continue this discussion. We don't have to leave these people with just our foul language.
I will say this. As much as it's almost got, and this is going to be a comparison. Again, this is probably hard to track as a viewer. It's almost got a Napoleon Dynamite quality in that I think a lot of the quotes will stick with me. Of just people saying so many random things, like Jace walking up, and so I already mentioned your ego reminds me of the universe. Jace walks up with his intramural, and Brad's response is, "I'd love to be on a team." There's just so many.
Right. It's DJP writing for everybody else. I love inside jokes.
Right. At one point he says, the best laid intentions of mice and men. There's just so many little things that are just like... Mm-hmm.
I like the other the lead professor when he's trying to be convinced that it was a miracle when the girl died and came back to life. And he goes, I must have been wrong when I pronounced her dead. Take that line out of context. I guess I must have been wrong.
I loved it.
You think?
I
loved it.
This is
the only case of anybody in this film admitting he was wrong.
The teacher saying again, because I do think Christian movie fans will think we're underselling this. The teacher at one point looks at him and says, "You can take advantage of me any way you want." Why'd you turn down a shake? There are so many out of context lines.
When he in his line at the college, when he the only person that's ever named themselves a sextitarian or whatever.
Yeah, a sextitarian.
Yeah.
Sexagenarian.
Sorry,
sexagenarian.
Yeah. Whatever. Can edit that out for mature audiences only. But he delivers that line knowing full well what he's provoking here in this person's mind. And they go, what? And he goes, it means somebody who's 60 years old. But you knew that, and you wrote that into a film, and you wanted to invoke this sexual thought about yourself. Gross.
Yes, Ty is, and what I think we would agree, DJP probably is a Reddit person walking around and just feeling so hey man, what's up? This guy. Got him.
Trolled.
Constantly. And you're just and his granddaughter is lose my number. Mm-hmm. Never speak to me.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think I moved to Tennessee from South Dakota?
I don't want. This is a tough representation. Not a lot of South Dakota representation in media. And I do feel for y'all. This was a tough... Mm-hmm. If this is your only exposure to South Dakotans, you're not going to think much of them, and that's a bummer. Yeah, a lot of great one-off lines that are going to stick with me, and man, this was
work, guys.
I would say we deviate on this. I think it's worth watching because I have a little soft spot in my heart for stuff like this, and it is like, and honestly, in a weird way, like we say this as a joke, and I'm gonna get semi-serious here.
Oh boy!
Like I think people are like, I can't undertake a creative endeavor because I haven't, and like Andrew Stanley's a Christian comic who was talking about this recently, but he just does stand up like regular. And I think he's great. And he said, if you want to be inspired, like if you have any interest into it, you should go to an open mic and you'll be like, oh, I can do this. Because you're like, people are doing this and it's like, they're okay or they're not good at all, and they are doing it. So maybe this could even be inspirational to you. If you have like any interest in doing it, you could be like, bro, if he's out here making this and putting it out on the Roku channel, imagine what you could do.
Yeah.
Imagine.
I know. Again, we've already done this, but if you're going to do that, maybe know something about the subject you're talking about. I would almost call this movie like doing something like this, having the money he has to produce a film on your own and pay for all of these films that he's made.
Yeah, he's got something going.
If you're going to put some premise out there that you're like teaching and educating people, one, you should probably do some research, actually know something about what the heck it is you're talking about. Two, I would say that it's almost dangerous, like what he is doing. But it would be dangerous if I thought anybody was actually taking him seriously.
Sure.
Or anybody thought he actually knew.
Right.
It wasn't until later in my life that I realized my dad didn't know what he was talking about. And so then I could go,
right.
Okay, got it, Dad. But as a kid, I was like, oh yeah, I believe everything he says. I do everything he says. Like whatever he says, it's my dad. He knows everything. And so if you're a kid and you're looking at Grandpa and you're like, well, Grandpa knows what he's talking about. Yeah. Don't listen to Grandpa right now. Just stop. Grandpa doesn't know what he's talking about. Gramps has never known what he's talking about.
Gramps stopped. Like we talk about improv stuff, and Gramps has stopped listening. And that's Gramps' problem. So he heard like one thing, and then he built a whole.
I don't think Gramps started listening ever.
He built a whole thing on
his life.
Gramps Goes to College. God. This is one of a kind. This is rare air.
Mm-hmm. You owe us big time, folks.
We're gonna have to watch like the Prince of Egypt next to sort of wash.
You keep referencing Prince of Egypt.
I love Prince of Egypt. Like that is legit. I'm hesitant with lists.
I'm not watching a cartoon with you.
It would be up there.
Sorry.
How dare calling that a cartoon in a belittling way is shameful.
I'm calling you out in a belittling way, not the movie.
Oh, that's fine. Well, friends, we did it. Mm-hmm. We did Gramps Goes to College. And he did go to college. Mm-hmm. I think a college. Mm-hmm. Oh, my word. So many memories will stick from this one. Hey, thanks for coming along this journey. Thanks for finding this darkness and sharing it with us so that we may all get to know.
I'm not doing another one of his movies.
Like next week, but for sure soon we'll do another one.
I can't.
Best Friends AI or something was one that's high on my list.
Stop it.
Hey, listen, we love you guys. We love that we get to talk about these movies that are out there in the real world. And I mean it when I say you should make your thing. You should do it. You should do it. And then tell us when you do. We're not going to like review it like this, but I'd love to see it. If you have a movie that we need to watch, at The Bible is Funny, TikTok and Instagram, you can send it to us and we will watch it. And we will enjoy every second of it. We will consume it, and we will discuss it here on the podcast. But this has been a really special time together, a time that I will never forget. And we'll come back here. We'll do it again real soon, right, Tim?
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
See ya.